Hi guys, it's Amanda here, your cutie of Carnage.
And I'm JESS KORESH.
Here on Channel Sundown. Today we are reviewing a film that I finally saw, and that is 2019's remake of Jacob's Ladder.
There wasn't even no ladder in this movie.
Spoiler alert, there's no ladder. Jacob's Ladder was directed by David M. Rosenthal, starring Michael Ealy and my man crush, Jesse Williams.
He was the one I recognized. I knew I recognized that guy. Okay.
Yeah, Jesse Williams. You guys might know him from Cabin in the Woods and that TV show he was on. Like, he was on like was he Grey's Anatomy?
I don't know. I don't even know. I know him, but I don't know what I know him from. He's one of those,
he was in Cabin in the Woods.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
I know his beautiful, beautiful face.
He is pretty.
Those piercing eyes. Get lost in him.
As you guys know, Jacob's Ladder is a remake of the 1990 movie film Jacob's Ladder, starring Tim Robbins, which I love.
Also, I love.
Anyways, he can't speak today, guys.
Me love too.
The film is kind of the same, but the story is a little different. It's basically Jacob, who is a war veteran, and after going overseas and fighting the war and losing his brother, he moves back to the States, he gets married, and he becomes a doctor, a very predominant doctor in his hospital, and things get kind of interesting from there because he finds his brother after finding out after thinking he's been dead, finding out that he's alive, and that's when things get interesting. There really isn't much to say about the movie as far as that, because after, you find out about him and his wife and his new baby and his brother being dead, and you find out his brother's alive, and it just kind of goes from there, and everything else is kind of a spoiler. But right now this is a spoiler-free review. So we're going to go ahead and jump in to our pros and our cons without spoiling anything. But I have a lot to say about this movie. So.
Okay, so my pros for the movie, which as you remember that, like, going into this, I really didn't have any interest in this movie whatsoever because
oh yeah, we have a trailer reaction that we did to the film, guys. The link will be below. The link is below. But yeah, we did a trailer reaction to Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah. And
he did share his opinion on that.
I did. But at the time, I had just gone back and watched the original Jacob's Ladder, like right before this trailer came out. So I was a little biased at the time. But going into and actually some of my cons for the trailer actually ended up being some of my pros, because it wasn't an exact remake. It was more of a, like you like to say, like a reimagining sort of Jacob's Ladder. So it wasn't a complete rehashing of it, which I appreciated. And at first I was like, oh, it looks really low budget, but I ended up appreciating the fact that it was low budget because it seemed kind of like, it made it seem more like like they made it from the heart. Like, like this was a pet project that this guy had been wanting to do. Like the director had been wanting to make a remake of Jacob's Ladder. And so, yeah, I appreciated some of those things, of the acting, and, it was relatively, like you said, other than Jesse Williams, I didn't know any of the other actors in the movie. And I don't know, it just seemed like a labor.
Michael Ealy was in a lot, and is in a lot of films. He's in that Intruder film.
I don't know what that is. Yeah, I appreciated. It seemed like a labor of love, and that I can say that that was my pro. That I definitely appreciated that, and then it was more of a reimagining and not a exact retelling of the original Jacob's Ladder.
My pros are kind of the same with your instance. I liked how they kind of changed it a little bit. They kind of modernized it, and they made it kind of different, and that's basically my positive. I like how they kind of changed it a little bit. And the acting. I really liked the acting. The acting was actually better than I expected it to be. And I know, guys, I have a love crush, so I might be a little, like, on his, like, team, fan, whatever. But Jesse Williams was awesome in this film. And he really captured that. Mike Leahy was good, too. And then them two together in the scenes, and Jesse Williams, like, because he is really popular for being like handsome hunk guy and stuff, and this film he really like went in there, and there were scenes where he was like really handsome, there were scenes where he was not handsome, and without getting into spoilers, he really captured the character, and I really thought that was grand. I thought that was a positive.
Yeah, there's a lot of different dynamics between the two main male characters, and I think they played really well off each other. Like, I did notice that. Like, I think they both I think they did a really good job.
And the roles kind of reversed on each other, because one minute, Jacob was, the one that was voice of reason. Sometimes his brother was the voice of reason. It really kind of was kind of like, going back and forth, and I thought that was really good. So that was, like I said, that was a positive. My last positive is I really liked the imagery that they did, the kind of darkness and kind of light and dark. So like it was a pretty atmosphere when it was dark. It was really, pretty when it needed to be, and devilish when it needed to be devilish. So yeah, so the way it looked good. Okay, well, those were my pros, and those were Jesse's pros. Now here comes the cons.
Sounds like you get a lot of cons.
Stay tuned. Jesse, you go ahead and go first.
Well, I mean, yeah, let me go ahead and get this out real quick. Because really my only, like I said, I was biased going into this movie. And so for me, it was kind of a pleasant surprise. So really my only con would be that I never thought that they needed to remake Jacob's Ladder. So, I mean, like I said, I mentioned that earlier. I've mentioned that several times. That would be my only con, was if they just, they kind of remade a movie that I didn't feel like needed to be remade. But even that being said, I was pleasantly surprised by it. So I'm interested to hear what your cons are.
Oh gosh, here it goes. Okay, well, my cons, I have a few cons. First off, I felt that if they were going to remake Jacob's Ladder, they should have did a retelling, and they should have changed the atmosphere. They should have changed the story into something that was more because like I said, my pro is like I like how they modernized it. I don't think that was like my pro, that they were going for that, but they didn't fully do it like I expected them to do. They should have grasped a whole different dynamic and different story. I feel like the war thing has been done. Like they should have, because at the time, 1990, Jacob's Ladder, Tim Robbins, that was kind of like, an established kind of thing. People are talking about the war and stuff. Now there's so many other things going on that I feel like, I don't know, like something else could have been the cross between the drama and the atmosphere. Like maybe like murder or, abuse.
Murder?
A police brutality. Like they could have went, like I hate to be that person, but I think it could have went differently. It could have did something else that other than just being a war vet like the original film, because being that they went on the same tangent as the original, it was too mirroring each other. It was too much like each other, and you couldn't help but compare the two together, because they both were the same story, but they were trying to tell it new. But you can't take the same story and tell it new, because it's already been told. So basically they took the same premise and they just wanted to retell a story that was already told, but they wanted to change it, but they didn't change the right attribute. They didn't trade the right things in the film. So it felt like it was mirroring. But as you guys notice, when you write a letter and you pick it up and you show it in the mirror, it's backwards. and you can't read it. And that's how I feel like Jacob's Ladder was. I feel like the remake of Jacob's Ladder was kind of like they were taking Tim Robbins' film and putting it against the mirror and being like, here, look. And they're like, but I can't read it. I'm like, yeah, but it's the same thing. That's how I felt like this film was. Really, a lot. And I just thought about that analogy.
Damn, man.
I just thought about that. I know. I just thought of that too because I was looking at my notes. And
That's not in your notes.
I know it's not in my notes, but I just thought about that when I was going on the tangent. And another negative con that I didn't like, there was, okay, if you guys know the original Jacob's Ladder, there was a lot of dream-esque scenes, you know. There was a lot of, you know, creepy stuff going on. I felt like this one had too many jump scares. Too many jump scares. Like, bah! Like somebody walking down the hall and he's trying to go in a room and then, bah! As the person turns around real quick. I felt like there was too many cheap jump scares. And then I felt like a lot of the times, like, I don't want to spoil this, guys, in case you want to watch it. But there's an original, I'm not gonna spoil the original. But the original, there's a dance. There's a lot of him seeing things, creatures, and people turning and stuff. And I felt like this one, there was a scene where somebody was kind of turning into something, and it felt like it was too Hollywoodized. Hollywoodized. I don't know if that's a word, but I just made it up.
It is now.
Right? But it was too, there wasn't a feeling behind the imagery and everything. And my other con is I felt like there was twists in the film just because they needed twists. But the twists weren't really twists because you kind of figured them out halfway through the film. And so I felt like it was kind of like Robot Chicken and Night Shyamalan is a twist. Like that's what I felt like. I felt like, so yeah, it was really, I felt that if they would have just did what a different story, but it just, man, it's just, I felt like they could have went there and they didn't, and I felt like it was just a bunch of jump scares and a bunch of imagery. They're trying to be something else versus something it should have been. Like, I hate to say should have been, but could have been, basically. So yeah, that's how I felt about it.
The original is definitely more psychological
Yes.
horror, and
Yes.
this one, like you say, is more of a modern. A lot of things, it embraces a lot of things that I don't necessarily care for in modern horror movies, like you said, like jump scares and things like that. But you know, I mean, like I said, I kind of appreciated it for not being just like the original. But you know, definitely not a perfect movie.
No. I just wish they would have, like, you know, kind of did something different, but not, you know, totally. Like, it could have been something else. I just think it was pointless to be Jacob's Ladder. It was really, like, what was the point? It could have been a whole different movie. I felt like it was like Jacob's Ladder to be Jacob's Ladder. To kind of get people like, oh, I want to see Jacob's Ladder, so yeah. Jesse, I don't know why I was calling you Jacob, but I have a friend named Jacob, so that's kind of funny. Jesse, what is your verdict for Jacob's Ladder?
I know this isn't going to be one of my most exciting verdicts because I thought this movie was okay. I mean, if you're like a huge fan of the original Jacob's Ladder, you're probably not going to like this movie, and you probably don't even really need to see this movie. But considering, like I said, I know I said this numerous times, but I was going into this assuming that I was going to hate it, and I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It's by no means my favorite movie or anything like that. But just it was better. I'm just going to say it's better than I thought it would be. That's all I'm going to say. It was better than I thought it would be. I had very low expectations, and it was better than I thought it would be. That's all I got to say.
Okay, well, I'll tell you my verdict. My verdict is Jacob's Ladder. I did not like Jacob's Ladder. I did not like Jacob's Ladder. I tried to go into it to be like, oh, okay, well, it's not Jacob's Ladder, it's something else. But even if it was named like Jesse's Ladder or something, I still wouldn't have liked it. I thought it was just so, man, I really did not like this one. And I really wanted to like it because, like I said, I love Jesse Williams, and I really felt like it was not at all. And no, I don't not like it because it's a Jacob's Ladder remake. That is not the reason why. Even if it wasn't a Jacob's Ladder remake, I wouldn't have liked it. Because it was just all over the place, and the ending, it was not good. I did not enjoy it, and yeah. So if I'm wrong, if y'all think I'm wrong, then oh well. Sorry, sounds like a personal problem.
Wow. Got defensive about that.
I know.
I feel like, and we kind of talked about the acting earlier, but I feel like the acting kind of saved this movie from me hating it. I think the acting was good, and I think that's the only thing that kept me from just like totally hating this movie, was that the dynamic between the two brothers.
I think the acting was wasted for the story.
I think you're wasted.
Okay, guys. Well, that concludes our Jacob's Ladder review. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Do you agree with Jesse and then disagree with me? Let us know.
I'm curious if there's anyone that just really loved this movie.
Yeah.
Because I said I thought it was okay, and you said you hated it. So I'm curious if there's anybody that's like, I love Jake. I don't really see anybody doing like, oh, I love the Jacob's Ladder remake. But you know, who knows? I'm curious if there's anybody out there that feels that way about it.
There you go. And if you do, let us know. Comment below. Do not forget, we seek approval, so do not forget to like and subscribe. I'm pointing at the graphics and it looks like I'm not trying to tickle him. Subscribe. Like and subscribe. Anyways, guys, until next time, bye.
Bye.
I'm all empty on this side.
Got your monster.
It's true.
Did you say you're all empty on the inside? I know. I wanted to say something.